The thing about douching is you have to be aware that the lining of the rectum or the mucosa is quite sensitive and fragile. So it is possible that if you don't douche correctly, you can disrupt a lot of those factors and cause injury or trauma to the rectum as well. So it's really important to know how to douche right. I like to think that as a GP that I create a space where gay men can come in and feel comfortable with me. So we know that after about a week of disturbed sleep, your testosterone levels can drop by about 10 to 15%.
Oh, wow.
A lot of us are running on empty, and then we wonder why we can't or don't want to have sex, or sexual function is impeded.
It feels like taking testosterone replacement is more popular than it's ever been.
And anybody that comes to erectile dysfunction, and I will ask, what are things like when you masturbate or you fantasize versus what it's like being with a sexual partner? And if the issue is primarily arising in an intimate setting with a sexual partner, then it's much more likely to be psychosexual. Yeah, there's definitely an issue around the overconsumption of pornography. And just as you've said, yes, it definitely distorts people's sense of reality and what is reasonable to expect. You should really try to avoid insoluble fibre for the 24 hours before anal sex, because of its insolubility. You could eat white rice, white pasta, but you wouldn't want to eat brown rice or brown pasta.
Why do some people produce loads and some people like just flops?
Well, you're talking about semen there versus sperm.
Okay.
So semen is the white stuff.
Yep.
And sperm,
The swimmers.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, makes sense.
So a finger into the bum with concerns about either their prostate or bowel symptoms that you need to check. Lack of sex drive, erectile dysfunction, loss of muscle mass, lacking of energy.
You're just describing Ryan and Azamat's marriage.
Hi, I'm Azamat.
And I'm Oliver, and we're the founders of Friend of Dorothy.
Today we're very excited to have a new guest, Dr. Gareth. You can find him on his social media as the Irish GB. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
How are you doing?
Very well. Yeah. Very
Good.
well.
We're very excited to have you. We have a lot of questions.
Great.
Gareth, we usually start with asking our guests a little bit about themselves. Where are you from? How's your upbringing? And when did you realize that you are Friend of Dorothy?
So I'm from the north of Ireland. I grew up in a small village just outside of Belfast. As a lot of you may know about Northern Ireland, it's quite a conservative place, and I grew up in an evangelical Christian community. And so I'd say growing up in Northern Ireland had a reasonably challenging experience of being a young gay man in a conservative evangelical community. But yeah,
Do you have siblings?
a twin brother.
Twin brother.
Yeah.
Nice.
He doesn't look like me, and he's not gay. Before you ask.
Is that what everybody asks?
All the time, yeah. They're desperate.
I have twins, and they look nothing alike, and everyone's always like, are they sure they're twins?
But you are identical to it.
No, they don't look alike.
No.
Identical, yeah, but they don't look alike.
So at what age did you realize that you are having gay thoughts?
I'd say probably in a way that we can all relate to some extent. Probably always knew it was a little different, or there was something different about me, and didn't quite feel like I was fitting into the community or the space around me. And then I'd say probably maybe 13, 14 became more aware of a draw or an attraction towards other guys. But because of that background of quite conservative Christian upbringing, it took me a long time to really come to terms with that, and then to eventually come out. That didn't happen until maybe it was around 25.
Came out at the age of 25 to your parents.
Initially to a couple of trusted friends. To be honest, it was a bit of a messy, kind of clunky coming out over a couple of years, but it sort of just happened the way it did.
Yeah. Were you already in London, or you were still in Northern Ireland?
Still in Northern Ireland, yeah. I moved to London a few years ago, so I was still back home trying to navigate how to do that in a way. It felt very complicated at the time, and you're sort of consumed by the sense of sort of shame because of the context within which you're living, so it took a bit of time to get.
So being with your upbringing, very conservative environment. How do you think that impacted you now?
Well, it certainly made me the person that I am now. So yeah, it took a lot of intentional work to process and go through and unpick a lot of the trauma and the shame that I experienced and that I was full of as a result of how I saw myself in the context of the community that I lived in. So, I mean, I'd say I'm fairly liberated from that now, which I'm really glad to say. But I suppose I also am the person I am now because of the work that I've done with the different types of therapy and all the rest of it.
When you say community, do you mean religion?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Northern Ireland, it's a bit of an odd place in that they call it the Bible Belt of Europe.
Yes.
You know, so whether it be Catholicism, which permeates the Catholic faith, which permeates into the nationalist or Catholic community in the north and in Ireland in general, but in the north through community and sports and all the rest of it, in the same way, but express itself slightly differently in the Protestant evangelical faith. That permeates hugely into the Protestant side of Northern Ireland. So it's in our politics. It's
So you're positive.
yeah. I wouldn't label myself
you are.
anymore, but grew up in
Yeah.
a Protestant community. Yeah. So it's quite, I think it's probably quite alien to people here in mainland UK or GB, this idea of conservative religion permeating every level of society and in so many different ways. But when I was growing up, and still in the north of Ireland, it very much is, you know, people are very proud and loud way devoted to their faith and devoted to their church, which also then informs, if they adopt the doctrine of that church, informs how they view certain minority groups or groups of people. And obviously in my case, how they would view somebody who was homosexual.
Yeah.
So is it better now compared to 20, 30 years ago?
2030. How old do you
I
think
don't know
he
what-
is?
Okay, how old are you?
Honestly,
How old are you, Gareth?
How old are
I'm 35.
you? Okay, is it
Yeah.
different from 30 years ago?
But he was what, 5?
So when you're 5, you still understand what, I mean, ask me. When I was 5,
I know this.
I was in Soviet Union. Can you imagine? Everything was black and white.
Right, yeah.
Didn't have any cars, again, international brands. I didn't ever seen Bounty or sneakers, right? So I can tell you,
Such
like,
a hard
30 years
life.
ago was very different.
I get you.
So back to my question. How different is the situation now for Northern Ireland? Do you think it's getting more liberated nowadays?
Definitely changing. Yeah. I mean, even from the religious demographic in the north of Ireland, for the first time we have a majority Catholic population, and that hasn't been the case since partition and since Northern Ireland first existed. So that's a huge shift in the societal mix and balance as well, or how people would view it. And I would I'd say broadly speaking, the Protestant evangelical church has much less of a dominance over politics, still does, but less of a dominance over politics and day-to-day life in the north of Ireland in the way that it absolutely did in the past. You know, our political leaders and those in the most senior positions in politics were hardened evangelicals and very outspoken about that, and would be very vocal about their homophobia and their views against abortion and their views on women, you know, and they'd be very proud to speak of things in that way. So whereas that's definitely tolerated much less now. So I think broadly speaking, as a society, in the same way as in the south of Ireland and the Republic, certainly we've moved away from the Catholic Church as a result of all of the horrendous things that have come to light in terms of how the Catholic Church have behaved over the last couple of centuries. And so in response, I think a lot of people have moved away from the Catholic Church. I think it's the same in the north. People, I think, probably got a bit tired of feeling like their lives are being controlled by the church and by politicians that were associated with the church. So yeah, definitely much different, and I'd say a much more comfortable place to be gay.
Yeah.
I'd say if you still exist within the church space, however, it's still very hard.
I think in my head, my assumptions or hypothesis, like, you come across as more straight acting person, so did that impact the way you behave, the way you position yourself?
Yeah, I'd say so. A big part of the work I've been doing as I've gone through different iterations of therapy over the last 10 or plus years is just a sense of value and worth. I think growing up as a gay boy and a Christian at that time, and certainly in a Christian setting, and hearing the teaching on a week-to-week basis in terms of sexuality and homosexuality, it couldn't help but have an impact on someone's sense of their value and their worth. And for me, then that resulted in just like a hyper-awareness of how I was carrying myself, conducting myself around people within my community of Christian friends and family, not wanting to give anything away. So yes, that's certainly how I express myself as a young person. I would say was impacted by fear and shame. Definitely.
And were you compensating by being an overachiever?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Good point.
Yeah. I think a lot of gay men can identify with that. I think, especially come to London, some of the most successful people I know, or most of the most successful people are gay men.
Yeah.
But I think yes, definitely that sense of knowing that I couldn't be something. A straight Christian who would get married and have a family, trying to compensate for that by being, a grade A student and
celebrity.
roles of and a celebrity. Of course.
I can relate.
Yeah.
Did you go to conversion therapy?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
At what age?
I think I started at about 19 or 20 and I went on for sort of on and off for a few years.
But did you do it voluntarily or someone forced you?
Yeah, no, I mean, I wasn't even out back then, but I felt that it was something that I had to do. I didn't see that how embracing my sexuality was an option. And I guess up to that point, I'd prayed enough and pleaded to God enough to change me and tried as well with dating girls, and none of it seemed to be working. So I came across the notion of conversion therapy and assumed that it was probably the only option that I had to reform my sexuality.
Was it like very obviously promoted in Ireland?
To some extent. I mean, the guy that guided me towards the psychiatrist I ended up seeing in the end, he would be...
He's your boyfriend.
Was he?
The priest.
It was not. He was far from off, let me tell you.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it's still the case, but up until I was leaving Ireland only a few years ago, he was being welcomed into churches and was able to speak about the charity that he ran and how it promoted the notion that sexuality could be changed and gay men could be made straight, so that as much, it wouldn't say it's necessarily promoted from the pulpit, but there's definitely a tolerance for these people saying these things, where there certainly has been.
So what was this experience like?
Through the years of attending conversion therapy, it looked different along the way, in the sense that it probably, either what I was going to changed how it looked, or I went to different forms of conversion therapy. When I first started off, it was 1-to-1 with a psychiatrist, and I maybe had 8 or 9 sessions with him, exploring why I might feel the way that I do, trying to pathologize sexuality, trying to explain my sexuality away through circumstances around family or how I was parented. I can remember the first time actually starting to feel anger towards my parents. My parents were divorced by that stage nearly 10 years. I remember feeling angry about them for the first time because it was suggested to me that my parents' separation or ill health of their relationship had something to do with my sexuality. So then after about 8 or 9 sessions with him, he then invited me to be a part of a men's group.
That sounds fun.
That's exciting.
Not that kind of group.
Still in the WhatsApp
group. No, you wouldn't want to go, let me tell you. No, it'd be very disappointing, Oliver.
So all these guys are in conversion therapy, all homosexuals, all together, and they decided to put you all together in one. Right? That's correct?
Yeah. It was all above board.
And what next?
So we would just sit in a circle. I think I've definitely dissociated Azamat from some of those years, and chosen to forget. But a lot of it was sort of storytelling and sharing. A guy would say, "Oh, I looked at gay porn last week, I feel terrible," and then we'd all support him or encourage him.
Yes, which one?
Yeah.
Send me the link, darling.
Yeah, I like that too. Sorry, we are making it not serious.
No, well, it's better to laugh about it, isn't it?
So
Better to laugh than cry. Please do. Yeah. I'm not offended.
So stage 1 was you had the therapy. Stage 2 was the sort of group things. You see it on TV, and quite often on TV it's presented more historically. In like what used to happen or real extremes. Was there any extremes to it, or it was just making you feel bad for who you are?
I don't know. I wouldn't say, because I know what you're referring to. Say ITV News, and they'll show a clip of somebody almost undergoing an exorcism, and I know that there are iterations of conversion therapy that are like that, or more violent or more physical. Ours certainly wasn't. It was like a talking therapy group, and it was all about, and to be fair, the men's group did evolve over time. So where it had started off as a group where it was suggested that being gay was wrong and that we all wanted to change that, it did then evolve into a group that was more affirming, or at least it was more focused on us, focusing on a sense of maybe our male identity and what that looks like, you know. So it did sort of change over time. All of it was a bit mixed up and a bit messy.
And obviously, and I can't imagine it works because we're all gay and we're just gay, it is. But was there people that, like, I don't know, you get to the end of the process and like, hey, I'm done?
Well, one of the guys ended up going on to get married and have kids. And it's funny, like way back then, you look at that and you think, oh, there we go. Like it worked.
Like,
Do you
there's
know?
a hope, right?
Yeah. Like that's all what we're aiming for. And like, listen, he's maybe bisexual. I don't know what his story is, and it's not my place to pass.
Which was his gay thoughts in a little box and crushed it.
Or that, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But that was probably, you know, heralded as like the golden chalice, getting married and to a woman, having a family, you know.
But at that point, you already were sexually active.
No.
But what age was that then?
Maybe 24.
Wow, that's very late.
Yeah.
And then you realized, okay, I'm fine with that, or
no, there was still lots of shame around that and discomfort and hiding. Like really, to be honest, my comfortability around my sexuality and just being able to share openly with friends, say about experiences or, you know, have a laugh about something has probably only come around since moving to London. Even over these 3 years, it has progressed, you know, from somewhere that it even wasn't 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Then you moved to London only 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So till 29, you're very much not fully free.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable to say. Like even at that stage, like I was active in speaking out against my experience, you know. I did a TED talk and spoke about my experience of conversion therapy. I was on the news. I'd say that I was very much on the journey towards liberation, but I wasn't quite there yet.
So, shifting the gear, before you came to London, what you were busy with?
So I qualified from GP training in 2017 and then worked as a GP for 4 or 5 years before moving to London, and as a GP partner in a practice in Belfast for 3 years before moving here.
Was your work anyhow related to LGBT community at that point?
No, not really. As a GP, everybody and anybody comes and can't come through the doors. There'd be a small number of consultations where stuff around sexuality may come up. But I would say even compared to being here in London, I'd say people would be a lot more reluctant to even open up in that way to their GP back home in the north of Ireland.
But do you think they would see that you are a friend of Dorothy so they can be a little bit more open with you?
I have worn a rainbow lanyard since coming to London, and I would wear a rainbow badge sometimes as well. So I've no problem, at least to me, that would either communicate that I'm gay or that I'm a gay ally.
Yeah.
Because I think in work as well, as a doctor and same to other professional spaces, there are certain boundaries, and certainly one of the boundaries is you don't want to overshare about your personal life as a doctor.
So what made you make a move and come to London?
The boys.
You realized like, okay, I need to do something.
Yeah.
Situation, and London would be more liberating space for that.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't so much for the boy. The summer before I moved to London, a friend was getting married and he had a stand party in the early part of the summer and then his wedding at the end. And I can remember flying back to Belfast and landing at the city airport, and each time feeling a sense of heaviness come back upon me and recognizing that when I had been in London, that I'd felt a lot more free and liberated. And I think that was the point at which I thought, right, I actually just need to make this happen. And I put the wheels in motion to make the move. I think it was as much recognizing that I'd a lovely community of people back home in the north of Ireland, and I have a lovely extended family, and life was good there for all intents and purposes. But as a gay man, I certainly wasn't spreading my wings, or I don't think living the life that I knew I could live if I were to be elsewhere. No.
And tell us a little bit more about the first years in London. So what has changed for you?
I mean, they've been great. London has been very good to me. I just mean in terms of friendships, you know, what I've learned as a person, how I've grown as a person, the fun that I've had, the opportunities that I've had here. I've definitely grown into my skin a lot more, and there was a lot of room and space to grow into. And I think London's been great allowing me to do that. And I'm just a much more confident person. I have a lot more self-compassion and self-love. And I feel I'm able to give that a lot more to others as a result as well.
Yeah.
So,
Now you are GP in London.
How does it differ being a doctor in London compared to Northern Ireland?
Well, the big difference is the mix of people that you see. The North of Ireland isn't a particularly diverse part of the country. The cultural nuances that you'd never be faced with as a GP back home in the North of Ireland, you certainly would. I was here, and it took a bit of time to adjust to that and understand better how I could provide the care and support to people from very different backgrounds to my own in a way that I wasn't challenged.
So as you are a London-based GP, do you feel like there are more LGBT community people coming to you for consultation?
There's no particular reason why they would initially more would come to me, but what I've maybe noticed is that there's particular ones that want to come back to see me, maybe because they see that I'm more comfortable with the things that they're presenting to me or what they want to talk about.
Do gay men have more common topics that they usually come to GP?
I think they're more comfortable to talk about things of a sexual nature than a straight guy would be. And so maybe proportionally, maybe in terms of the men that are coming in, maybe with libido issues or erectile dysfunction, maybe more gay men than straight.
So can we double click on that topic? Based on your knowledge, at what age usually men start having issues with testosterone, and what is the common practice of dealing with that?
So from about the age of 30, we know the testosterone drops by about 1% per year from the age of 30 to 40. So it's typically mid to late 30s into the 40s where men will be feeling that they're symptomatic of low testosterone. The symptoms they're presented with might not always be testosterone related. There's often an assumption that it is. And equally, there are men that will present younger than that with signs or symptoms that may be similar to that of those with low testosterone, but there's probably other things going on as well.
What are the top 5 symptoms?
Lack of sex drive, erectile dysfunction, loss of muscle mass, lacking of energy.
You're just describing mine and Azamat's marriage.
Get tested, boys.
Yes, let's go back. So you get, for example, those symptoms. And I was talking to somebody a little while ago, and they're like, "Oh, I know people that can get you testosterone." And I was like, "What do you mean you know people that can get you testosterone?" And he was like, "Well, everybody at the gym is on it." Is testosterone just steroids?
I mean, you could describe it as that, yeah. Slightly different, but it has a similar effect in terms of that muscle growth that a guy would be looking.
Okay, and these people are taking it at the gym, which just seems crazy to me because it sounds like they're just, I don't know where they're buying it from. Surely that can't be a safe way to take it. Yeah. So you the best way is obviously to go to a GP, get tested and so on. Or can you just legally buy it for yourself?
You wouldn't be able just to go into a pharmacy and just purchase it. You would need obviously a prescription from a doctor in order to do that. So those that are getting it offline are usually getting it through means that might not necessarily be completely legitimate.
Okay.
And then of course there's risks with that.
Okay. What about naturally? So you don't want to either go to a doctor about it, or you don't want to buy it off some dodgy guy at the gym. Like, is there natural ways you can boost your testosterone?
Yeah, absolutely.
Apart from getting divorced. That works great for me. Other than that, what natural ways can you boost your testosterone?
Sleep's a big one. So we know that after about a week of disturbed sleep, your testosterone levels can drop by about 10 to 15%.
Oh, wow.
So it's really significant. A lot of us are running on empty, and then we wonder why we can't or don't want to have sex, or sexual function is impeded. So sleep's definitely a big one. Exercising, particularly your resistance or compound lifting and weights, like your deadlifts or your squats. When you put those big muscle groups under stress, as a result, you get an increase in testosterone, which peaks at around 30 minutes after the workout. So there's a short-term gain, but then we know longer term, there's a gain as well.
Okay. If you're feeling bad because you have symptoms of low testosterone, how do you get that to a level where it stays constantly good? Is the only way to do it through medical stuff?
I mean, yeah, it's a really good question. How much these lifestyle adjustments can impact your testosterone is variable from individual to individual. And particularly if someone is of an advanced age, without the help of medication, are you really going to get them back to a place where they have testosterone level of a 30-year-old? Probably not, you know. As much as you would still encourage any patient who has low testosterone, even if they're going on medication, to adopt these changes, their diet, their lifestyle, their sleep, you know, alcohol, smoking, all of that, they're probably going to have more of an impact on your younger patient who has a much stronger working hormonal axis. And from a biological perspective, things are firing better. Invariably, there'll be patients that those lifestyle adjustments will not make the difference that's needed, and medication maybe.
Because I see ads for it all the time. It feels like taking testosterone replacement is more popular than it's ever been. Like, there's a lot of companies doing it. You get the home testing kit. Is it more and more popular, or more people coming to you asking for it?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a greater awareness of the symptoms, so it's definitely been spoken about more, which is absolutely fantastic. I mean, we've had generations of men in their 50s, 60s, they call it the midlife crisis, you know, or the men's midlife crisis. You know, and you could suggest that a lot of these issues and symptoms that men have been experiencing is really because of low testosterone. You know, so they're depressed, they're putting on weight, they're losing muscle mass, they've got lack of drive and lack of libido. So it's really good that from a societal perspective that there's a lot of destigmatizing of, I suppose if you want to call it the male menopause, which is a bit of a debatable use of the term, but definitely, so more men are more aware of it. And I've seen lots more men in the last few years coming in to see me asking for the levels to be checked.
If I come to you and ask you to check my testosterone levels, what is the benchmark saying that this is high, this is normal, which is?
So measured through a blood test, which should be taken first thing in the morning. So usually between around 8 and 10. So that's when the testosterone levels are at their peak. The issue that exists within NHS practice is that it's incredibly hard to get somebody, first of all, to the point of seeing an endocrinologist who's a hormone specialist that would prescribe testosterone. You know, so the waiting list for that is colossal. And then second of all, then to even be started on the treatment altogether. And equally, the result at which a patient would qualify for referral is a really low level of testosterone compared, for example, with our peers in the States or parts of Europe where testosterone replacement therapy started much sooner than it would be here. So it's really challenging for people who are relying on the public health system to find medical answers or pharmacological answers to their low testosterone.
So when you measure testosterone, what's the number which is good? So
12, I think, for most parts of the country is a cutoff for when someone can be referred to endocrinology. But it all depends on age as well. You know, so you might find somebody in their late teens, early 20s, they've got levels, say, between 25 or 30. And
which
then
is high?
That'd be considered, good, like healthy. Yeah.
So then when you see that my levels, for example, are low, what do you guys do about that? What do you prescribe?
So I don't prescribe anything as a GP because testosterone is listed as a medication that can only be started by a specialist in this country. So as a GP, I can't initiate it. And so what I would do is I would always repeat the levels to make sure that they're accurate, that we've done it at the right time, that the patient has come well prepared. And if there's two results that are both subtherapeutic or below optimal range, then I'd refer to the endocrinologist. So they'll do a range of tests to try and determine if there's other causes for low testosterone that's not just, say, age or the testes just aren't producing the testosterone that they're meant to. And if it's deemed that this is a natural decline in testosterone production, then TRT would be considered.
What is TRT?
Testosterone replacement therapy.
Is it free?
So different forms, yeah, injection, usually injection or gel.
And so then that person is on TRT for how long?
Well, that's the thing. It's for life then, you know, they'll hopefully achieve a certain feeling or way of being physically and emotionally. And then once they get there, really, in order to maintain that and to stay in that, you remain in that dose of testosterone.
How is it different if, for example, I'm coming with a problem, erectile dysfunction? So if I say, okay, I think I have erectile dysfunction, would you do the testosterone?
Yeah. Do that along with another couple of other blood tests as well. Yeah.
And at what point, for example, would you prescribe Cialis, Viagra.
Once you've done the blood tests and you've recognized that there isn't something else biochemically going on that's affecting their ability to have an erection, you've done a good cardiovascular assessment. So if somebody has atherosclerosis or buildup of plaque in the vessels, or they could be diabetic, there could be lots of other things going on resulting in erectile dysfunction. So you don't want to, certainly as a GP, I would do a full physical and blood assessment on anybody coming with new onset erectile dysfunction, because you don't want to miss something. And if you can assume that, okay, this is either, could be psychosexual, where Cialis would still be useful and helpful in a case of psychosexual erectile dysfunction, or it's as a result of, say, low testosterone, then it would be appropriate to prescribe.
I'm reverting back to gay men and erectile dysfunction. Am I right in thinking that gay men, it feels like they would be much more open to talking about it and coming with it as a problem compared to maybe straight men?
I think so. I think because probably as gay men, we are, I think, generally, certainly within our community, with each other, much more vocal about our sexuality and our sexual experiences. And so I think that greater openness within our community, then I think there are more gay men who come to me and admit, or not even admit, just to open up about something like that, versus a straight man who just maybe comes actually with more shame around that.
Interesting.
One follow-up question on where maybe I saw something on social media that if you on your own watching adult content and you have strong erection, proves that you actually don't have erectile dysfunction. If you have anxiety performing when you're with someone and if you can't keep it forward, that's more on mental side. Is that correct? And how do you test that? And what do you recommend in those kind of cases?
Yeah, I think you're spot on, Azamat. It's a question that you should always ask in anybody that comes to erectile dysfunction. And I will ask, what are things like when you masturbate or you watch porn or you fantasize versus what it's like being with a sexual partner? And if the issue is primarily arising in an intimate setting with a sexual partner, then it's much more likely to be psychosexual. And the majority of erectile dysfunction cases are psychosexual anyway. But it's a really important question to ask.
Psychosexual means it's in your head.
Yeah, which is just as valid as physical, obviously, but slightly harder to treat. So there are, in London, some of the STI clinics or gum clinics run psychosexual services. So depending on the borough within which a patient lives, they can access certain services for free for psychosexual counselling.
Is it like exercises you need to do, or like is it CBT?
I'm not a therapist myself, but where it will often come from will be probably shame around certain aspects of sex or fear around certain aspects of sex. So that's the job, obviously, of the therapist then to explore those hang-ups.
And could it relate to actually watching too much porn? That changes your view of sex and how you view it, which means then when you go to have it, your expectations are different to what the reality often is.
Yes, I think spot on, Oliver. Yeah, I think there's a big issue.
Spot on, gold star for me.
There's definitely an issue around the overconsumption of pornography. And just as you've said, yes, it definitely distorts people's sense of reality and what is reasonable to expect.
Let's shift the gear and discuss a little bit anal sex, because I guess it's a very hot topic for our viewers and listeners. What is the right way to prepare for anal sex?
In terms of if people are choosing to bottom or people are bottoming, you have the option of douching or not douching. The thing about douching is you have to be aware that the lining of the rectum or the mucosa is quite sensitive and fragile. It's full of small blood vessels and nerve endings, and it's covered in bacteria called the microbiome. So it is possible that if you don't douche correctly, you can disrupt a lot of those factors and cause injury or trauma to the rectum as well. So it's really important to know how to douche right. Pressure is important, so you don't want to use an implement or device that's going to put high pressure into the rectum because that can traumatize the mucosa and cause
When you say
tears.
high pressure, you mean like the shower nozzles?
Yeah, exactly. So some people use shower nozzles. When you take the head off a shower, the water comes out really quite high pressure. So yeah, you need to be mindful of that. I think the traditional douche, the bulb and nozzle, is probably the safest way. And as well, the temperature of the water. So you want it lukewarm, not too cold, not too hot. You don't use any chemicals either or detergents. If you're going to use a douche, really using saline, 0.9% saline is the best fluid to use. it has the same composition as the body's electrolyte balance, so
Mhm.
it's much less likely to cause electrolyte disturbance in the rectum or the bowel, and cause irritation as well.
Yeah.
But there's not many people who are going to go out to the shops and buy 0.9% saline, but that would be the ideal.
Yeah. The tips.
Fiber, really important whether you douche or not. Being mindful of, you want to take anywhere between about 15 to 30 grams of fiber per day, and also being mindful of the different types of fiber. So you've got your soluble and your insoluble fiber. Your soluble fiber coming from things like oats and white rice, and then your insoluble fiber coming from your whole grain foods. And you should really try to avoid insoluble fiber for the 24 hours before anal sex. Because of its insolubility, you'll find that often there'll be small remnants of fiber on digestive food in the GI tract within those 24 hours. If you're not douching, you might not necessarily be clean in the way that you would want to.
Your lasagna's coming out.
So just to clarify, so don't eat rice and
You could eat
pasta.
white rice, white pasta,
Yeah.
but you wouldn't want to eat brown rice or brown pasta.
Ah, I see. So vice versa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting,
can you
because it
eat?
won't have dissolved.
So your insoluble, that's your whole grains. Just think of your browns, so your brown rice, your brown pasta, your whole grain bread, etc.
That's no.
That's a no for the 24 hours
Well,
before.
yes.
And your yes are basically anything else. Your non-whole grain bread, your white rice, your oats, your barley. So basically, I suppose the non-healthier carbs or fiber sources, if you want to call them that.
Ah, okay. Interesting.
Mm.
Because I didn't know that.
I'd have probably gone the opposite way.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'd have been like, have brown rice, that would be healthy.
Yeah.
No wonder I don't get a second date.
How does douching impact gut flora in general?
Good question. I think a lot of this is probably hypothesized, maybe the known factually, but there's certainly some concerns that incorrect douching or douching in a way it could potentially disrupt gut flora and the balance that exists with the bacteria in the gut. The gut microbiome is this absolutely incredibly fascinating ecosystem within the gastrointestinal tract. And we have millions and millions and millions of bacteria within our bodies. There's more bacterial DNA in our bodies than human DNA. And they play a vital role in our whole body homeostasis and our physical and psychological well-being in a way that I suppose increasingly we're starting to understand much more. And so ensuring that we preserve that we enhance it, that we encourage it is really, really important. You know? So equally in ways that could affect that or throw that balance off, we should just be very careful with.
Yeah.
You know what I'm just realizing is, as gay men, kind of have to find out and go and teach yourself how to douche.
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
Right? And it's almost
terrible.
when you think about it,
Yeah.
it's quite an intense thing.
It really is.
And you need to teach yourself how to do this, how to do it well
Mm.
for your body to be able to then go on and have
Yeah.
sex. 'Cause I absolutely hate douching, right? It's
Yeah.
so annoying to, I'll quite often not have sex. I can't be bothered. Like it's
Mm.
a job before. It almost takes the spark out of it. But like having to go and learn how to do this just to be able to have sex.
Mm.
All right. Sperm production. How can you naturally increase the amount of sperm you produce? I'm asking for a friend.
Lots of ways, Oliver. Cutting out smoking and reducing alcohol, really important. That's a big one.
But I'm not being funny. Every single thing you go to the doctor with, stop smoking and don't drink.
I know.
My legs falling off.
Right.
Stop smoking.
I
Stop
know.
drinking.
I do get that, but we do know that it has a direct impact on the amount of sperm or the health of sperm. We do know that, so that's why we advise it. Diet as well is really important. Thinking of certain supplements as well can make a big difference. So your zinc, vitamin C and E, and omega oils can help with healthy sperm production. Temperature, really important, people forget about. So the reason why your testicles sit outside the body in the scrotum is because in order for healthy sperm to be created, they need to be between 2 and 4 degrees. It's created in an environment that's 2 to 4 degrees less than body temperature. So if people are struggling with their sperm count, you would encourage them to use looser fitting underwear instead of jocks or Y-fronts. And equally looser fitting trousers. So that's a really important factor that a lot of people don't realize or forget about, that if the temperature around the scrotum is too high, you're not going to be producing healthy sperm.
Why do some people produce loads and some people like just flops?
Well, you're talking about semen there versus sperm.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
So semen is the white stuff,
Yep.
and sperm,
The
swimmers.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, makes sense.
Yeah, so sperm are the little swimmers that are in the semen, and the semen's there to help to then get the sperm
Okay.
into the...
So how do you get your body to produce more semen?
Hydration is the only way I suggest. So if you're dehydrated, you're
Just told me to stop drinking. Put down the cigarettes.
water,
Okay.
clear
water.
fluids, not
Clear
alcoholic,
fluids,
not
gin and tonic.
alcoholic.
Non-alcoholic. Okay.
Why with age men produce less semen? Our customers fond of our product, especially the more mature they are, because they have lower amounts of semen.
I imagine it must be testosterone related.
Yeah.
And I guess also there's probably a cardiovascular element to that as well. It's like anything in the body, in order for anything to function, it's a metabolic process which requires a blood supply. So if your blood flow to the area is, say, partially inadequate, if you've got plaques building up secondary to your blood pressure or your diabetes, I'm sure could have an impact on semen production.
So at a certain age, you need to start worrying about your colon. What age do I need to start worrying about my colon?
Well, it's getting younger and younger. So
23? I'm only 24, starting for next year.
we're getting reports of people in their 30s getting bowel cancer now, aren't we? So, I mean, the screening starts in the 50s, but I mean, what I'd say to anybody that's younger than that is just to be very aware of symptoms of potential bowel cancer.
Okay. Can you explain to me what a colon examination, what happens?
If they were to see me,
And I'm hoping it's the same as any other doctor. So are you providing drinks before? If they see you.
well, it's all if they were to see me versus a surgeon or gastroenterologist.
No, so first of all, okay, let's say I'm turning 50 and I need to start having colon exams. Yeah? Because I know in the States, you just start taking them at a certain point.
Yeah.
Yeah? Do we do that here in the UK?
No.
No. Okay. Interesting. What exactly is a colon exam and what happens in one?
So it's a colonoscopy. So, yeah. A camera into the bum.
A camera into
Is that what you're...
no, so in the States,
like a finger?
men, I believe so, yes.
So a finger into the bum with concerns about either their prostate or bowel symptoms that you need to check.
Wait, are we talking about prostate examination?
Well, but it's both. Yeah. So if you were to do a rectal exam or a prostate exam,
Okay.
yeah, finger into the
So
bum.
what do I need to have to come to you for prostate examination?
A lot of money.
Buy him a drink first.
A lot of money, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So tell us, why would people have prostate examination? Once again, to test what?
So the size of the prostate and irregularity as well.
So how do you feel the size of the prostate?
Your prostate gets bigger naturally with age. So due to testosterone exposure over time, the prostate gets bigger and bigger, which is why most men, when they reach their elder years, will have some form of urinary symptoms. So they're not emptying their bladder well enough, or they're going too often, they're going at night. If I were to feel a prostate, say, of a 30-something-year-old man, it will feel quite flat and soft, versus maybe somebody in their 80s where it tends to be more rounded. But then if you're examining a gentleman who you think might be presented with symptoms of prostate cancer, then you're looking for asymmetry of the prostate. So the prostate's kind of like a peach. So there's a central isthmus which divides both sides, and then it's kind of rounded like the globes of a peach. And if you're feeling one side, if it were firmer than the other, larger than the other, or maybe there's a bump on it the other side didn't have, that could be suggestive of prostate cancer.
Okay. All right. Yeah. To prevent inflammation of prostate, again, it's all coming back to
testosterone. Do you mean just the prostate getting bigger over time?
Yeah.
So the prostate getting bigger is actually as a result of testosterone exposure, i.e. testosterone's effect on the prostate causes it to get bigger. So albeit your testosterone goes down with time, it has had that lifelong effect on the prostate that gets bigger as time goes on, if you understand.
So one's going down while one's getting bigger.
Pretty
much.
much.
It's still experiencing
Yeah,
it.
exerting a degree of effect. Yeah.
So from what age would you recommend to do testosterone test? And how regular?
There's not really a guideline on that. It really would be on an individual to individual basis, you know, in the sense of I would only really encourage testosterone testing if somebody's symptomatic, when they could be, for different reasons, be symptomatic essentially any stage of life. I'd say in parts of the world, like in America, no doubt, when you reach a certain age, you get a full, I mean, obviously here there is this to an extent, but there's much higher rate of testing for various conditions in, say, North America than there would be here. But at the moment here, there certainly isn't when you reach this age, you need your testosterone tested.
Yeah.
So we came across you because, well, I now follow you on Instagram, but Azamat's followed you for a long time. One of my first questions around your social media is, you're quite an attractive Irish guy with the accent and so on. Who are your followers? Because you're not obviously gay on social media. And you also don't only talk about gay topics.
I think the demographics pretty much 50-50 male to female.
Okay.
In terms of their sexual orientation, I have no idea.
No idea. Okay.
Yeah.
50 male.
The stats don't give you that.
And what's your goal on social media?
When I first started out, it was to help me to find, I think, to be honest, a way out of the NHS GP practice, because I was just finding it all a bit much and a bit overwhelming or a bit dissatisfying. I think since that point, I'm actually much happier in work and I really enjoy the place that I work or the places that I work. And I get a lot more satisfaction out of it than I maybe used to. And so for me, I just find it really good fun. I really enjoy it. It's fun to create the videos. It's fun to think of topics to speak about. It's sometimes surprising to realize that what I view as quite at times simple videos maybe actually provide information that can be quite helpful to people who might be struggling to find the information by other means. So that's satisfying. And it's also just led to some fun stuff, you know, getting invited to some things and getting to meet some really wonderful people, other clinicians or people that work in the media space. And I've always been somebody, I really do enjoy my job and I think I'm very good at the job that I do. But I've always been such that when I leave work, I don't really give work a second thought. You know, I've got a very active life outside of work that looks very different to work, you know. And so for me, this has also provided a bit of an outlet. It's a little bit more creative than the day-to-day job and sort of has granted me access to certain spaces and places. I don't mean anything salubrious, just in terms of places I wouldn't have been otherwise had it not been for the platform. So yeah, it's a bit of fun.
And were there any particular topics that you cover in your social media that became very hot and got the most views and comments?
They love the vaccine chat.
Vaccine.
The anti-vaxxers go pretty wild for them. Yes.
So I need to backtrack. A hot topic at the moment is doxy pep. Yeah. Should I be taking it? Should I not? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it too early to know about side effects?
Yeah, something that's been spoken about a lot. Not everybody is necessarily able to access it at the moment. In terms of who should take it, it all depends on how sexually active you are, what your risk is, because like any medication, you have to risk the benefit versus the and
what are the risks?
Well, you're taking an antibiotic on a daily basis, you know, so that to some extent is going to have an effect, for example, on your gut microbiome, to go back to that. And again,
is PrEP also, sorry to interrupt, is PrEP also an antibiotic?
No.
No, okay.
Yeah, no, so it doesn't have that effect. So there's that impact, as well as just, you know, doxycycline itself can be a little bit rough in the tummy, can have issues in terms of sun exposure. It's something to be mindful of, but certainly for those that are high risk or who have previously had recurrent cases of an STI, then it's definitely something worth considering.
Gareth, are there any STIs that we see are spiking nowadays?
I think since PrEP has become much more ubiquitous within the gay community, it's meant that condom use obviously has gone down, and as a result, things like gonorrhea and chlamydia rates have gone up.
Yeah.
As much as PrEP provides that amazing protection against HIV, it has maybe meant that men are a little bit potentially more lackadaisical about getting their STI checks and ensuring that they're safe with regards to the bacterial infections.
And then the other thing, which is obviously quite big at the moment, is weight loss jabs. So everyone's on them. Yeah. They're good, they're bad.
I mean, of the patients I know that are on it, they've all had a pretty successful experience. For the time being, the evidence seems to be pretty encouraging. I suppose they haven't been used in this way for that long a time.
Yeah.
So like anything, medical or medication wise. You just always need to be mindful of that. But it certainly has been transformational to a lot of people in terms of weight loss.
Because Serena Williams has just started promoting a brand and come out that she's taken it. Because it's quite, I think, to a degree, there's somewhat people have two opinions about it. People either think it's great, or a lot of people think it's cheating. Yeah. Which just seems crazy to me. Like, if you can take something that is going to help people and so on, I'm just not sure the NHS should be paying for it. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, if you weigh that up against the cost of obesity on the NHS, and then the implications of obesity, the other comorbid diseases that obesity causes, and the cost of that on the NHS, I'd say if you were to balance it up, there's a much greater saving by putting people on some sort of means to lose weight as opposed to treating the conditions caused by obesity.
Cool. Thank you.
Gareth, to wrap up, any particular advice you would give from your doctor perspective to the gay community?
I like to think that as a GP that I create a space where gay men and women can come in and feel comfortable with me. Every experience with a GP is different, but maybe sometimes those in the gay community need to be encouraged that actually more often than not your GP will want to hear, want to know, and does care, is coming from a non-judgmental space and wants to provide you with the care and support you need, So I think as a GP, I would say, be brave and ask the questions or go in with the stuff that's bothering you, because hopefully you'll be surprised by this response and the support that you're going to get.
And be more open about your sexuality.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I like that.
Amazing. Gareth, thank you so much for joining. I've literally learned loads.
Yeah.
I wish I was making notes throughout it. Thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
in. Honestly, we've really enjoyed it.
Thanks so much. Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Pleasure.